Look at this. I'm freaking huge. Freaking huge. More freaking huge. Alright. Enough of that. Welcome to That's Not Sexy. I am your master level personal trainer, Diaz. Once again, and as promised, here is the tendonitis video. And I'm going to be talking about how you get it and how to treat it. Wow. I guess that person didn't want to hear the explanation to the tendonitis. So excuse the background. I live in New York and that's the way it is. Anyway, so how you get tendonitis is you overuse it. So it just, when you overuse it, it causes inflammation in the tendons. So you could get it in the Achilles heel, Achilles tendon, and there's tons of places you get tendonitis, rotator cuff. Actually, I'm gonna go into reasons why. Actually, well, besides the overuse, tendons get nourished through blood. So the places that have the lack of blood flow would be the Achilles tendon. So a lot of people have problems with their Achilles, and they have to use orthotics and stuff like that to treat it, and also the rotator cuff. So the lack of blood flow to these tendons will cause, or the ones that are more likely to prone to injury and get tendonitis. So that's one of the reasons, without even training, overtraining is why you get tendonitis. But tendonitis just causes the tendon to inflame, and there's difference between tendonitis and tendinosis. Tendinosis is a degenerative collagen fiber. So your collagen fiber gets degenerates, and that takes longer for recovery. But we're talking about tendonitis. So just remember to treat it. Just remember rest, ice, compression, and elevate. So you can take anti-inflammatories or go to a doctor, for that if you wish. But I like to do everything naturally and not take any prescriptions. So I would just say rest it. For one, you need to rest the tendon. It's overused, overworked, and that's why it's inflamed. And ice it down. So if you have tendonitis in your elbow, you rest it. Don't do any pushing. Don't do any kind of motions to make it worse. The inflammation. Ice it down. Just rest, ice, right? Ice it down 15 minutes every hour. Compress. You could put a elbow wrap. And elevate. So you just elevate your arms. So just do those things to help with tendonitis. You have to rest it, and by resting, I do not mean doing push-ups and doing extensions and stuff like that. So rest means rest. You have to let it rest. It's inflamed. So that's it. Also, trauma could cause the tendonitis. So if you get hit by a car, or you just fell down and landed on your elbow, your rotator cuff, that will cause tendonitis as well through trauma. But I'm pretty sure that the person who requested this is talking about actual training, overtraining, overuse of the tendon, and that's why you got tendonitis. So it's okay, it's just, you gotta rest it, ice it down, compress it, and elevate, and that's it. But the most important thing is rest. And I know it's gonna be pretty hard for you because you go to the gym all the time. So I'm just letting you know that if you don't rest, it's gonna get worse. So make sure you take a break. Alright? And that's it for this video. And I have a list of things that I'm gonna talk about in my next videos. So we got, is a cheat meal a good idea? And a lot of other good stuff. I'm not even going to, you'll be surprised. So make sure you are subscribed and stay tuned to all the surprises and goodies I have left. Also, if you want to buy, I actually added these tank tops to my store. So if you want to buy one of these, because you are freaking huge as well, get one of these. And I also have these come in all colors, white and black, and also the cutoffs, because it's getting hot, and I know everyone wants some tank tops. And those come in all colors too. So yeah, anyway, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're not subscribed, that's not sexy.